Hey, beautiful people. If you're new, welcome to my channel. If you're coming back, welcome back. Today we're going to go back to Big Wave Dave from Genesis Apologetics. And I gotta say, why does he have the nickname Big Wave Dave? As far as I know, he's not Australian. But that's okay, Dave. Maybe you just want to pretend to be a surfer. Anyway, I'll say cowabunga to you anyway. I still can't find any education. You might want to go by and fix that, by the way, if you want anybody to take you seriously. At any rate, let's see if he can be a little bit smarter this time and I can spend more time going through some of this stuff instead of spending my time correcting his dumb ass on things that he should know if he wants to be teaching this shit. So, balls in your court, Dave. What kind of stupid you got for me today? Oh, and by the way, and while you're thinking about it, if you're new, why don't you go ahead and hit that subscribe button? And if you've already subscribed to me, make sure you're still subscribed because for some reason, YouTube loves to unsubscribe people. Also, if you're new here, I'd like to thank you very much for giving me a chance. And for my fans and subscribers, thank you so much for coming back. You are the lifeblood of this channel. And now, with that, let's get on with the video. Might I suggest that you sit down? I really don't want to see you hurt yourself. I mean, yeah, we're on opposite ends of the playing field here, but seriously. And while you're thinking about it, if you're new, why don't you go ahead and hit that subscribe button? And if you've already subscribed to me, make sure you're still subscribed because for some reason, YouTube loves to unsubscribe people. Also, if you're new here, I'd like to thank you very much for giving me a chance. And for my fans and subscribers, thank you so much for coming back. You are the lifeblood of this channel. And now, with that, let's get on with the video.
Your worldview, what you think about God and the Bible and things like that, have a big impact on how you interpret these fossils. For example, some people can look at the exact same bones and come up with two completely different ideas about what that animal was.
So, got a few questions for you. First of all, what does worldview have to do with the interpretation of facts? And second of all, there's more than just God or not God. Also, worldview really doesn't have anything to do with whether or not you accept the facts or not. Aside from the fact there are more worldviews than God or not God, people can believe in God and still accept the facts. So you said that two different people can look at the bones of the same animal and come up with two different ideas of what that animal was. And I would agree with you, except one would be the fact. Now, that does not mean that the one that is based in fact will be 100% correct, because depending upon how far back in time we go for that animal, we can never know with 100% certainty what that animal was. However, I can for damn sure tell you that wishful thinking is not going to tell you with 100% certainty, or even 1% certainty of what an animal will be ever.
Now, whenever you hear that somebody has found an ape man, there are three questions that you should ask. The first is, what fossil did they actually find? You'd be amazed at what the pictures that they've drawn from just a little tiny fossil. And we're going to look at that a little bit.
Wait a minute. You can only think of three questions that you should ask about this? Well, I gotta say, it's kind of underwhelming, but at least you're going in the right direction. I can think of a hell of a lot more questions than just three to answer. But then I did go to college and I did minor in anthropology. So, first of all, no professional, not even a student, is going to say ape man. That is just ridiculous. That is your made up term. Okay? Let's get that straight. So now let's get to your question, which isn't even the question that you're asking. You're not asking what fossil they found. Come on, at least be honest enough to to say that, okay? You're asked how much of a fossil they've found, which is a fair question to ask, by the way. But you need to be honest about what fucking questions you're asking in the first place. Now, as to your point about scientists or artists, rather, making pictures of animals, extinct animals, by just one or two pieces of fossil, this is where your ignorance really shows. Because they are not using that one little piece of fossil to draw the animal, which, by the way, they're not saying this is what it looked like. What they are doing, you absolute jackass, is combining different individuals of the same species together to get that composite sketch. And while I'm on the topic, yes, scientists are well aware that they can make mistakes. That is why science is always open to reinterpretation. Okay? All right. Now, they know that there is a chance that they mixed up some fossils. Let's say an Australopithecus fossil with a Homo erectus fossil. Although that's probably never going to happen, but it can.
Is what is the worldview of the person who's telling you this information? Do they love God? Do they hate God? Do they believe the Bible? That sort of thing. Because again, it's really important when we're dealing with historical science to know about the background of the person.
Do you know what happens when you mix acids and bases, right?
Of course I do.
I can't believe I have to tell a grown man this. But then I think you know this and you're just being dishonest because you know you have to be dishonest because the only way you can brainwash these children is to be dishonest. And this is just a simple definition of the word worldview from the website that I just put on screen. It is a belief system or an ideology. Now, belief system, both are important. You can believe something all you want, but that doesn't mean that that belief constitutes a system. It just means it's something that you believe. Like Logic pointed out, at that point he was a Walmart greeter. He believed that he was a Walmart greeter, but that does not mean that that was his quote-unquote belief system or his religion. And that was in answer to Kent Hovind. And yeah, I know that was made up for his series. So, according to the website I'm using, these are the questions that a worldview answers. And the only question on the list that science answers is how we got here. And we really don't know a whole lot about how we got here. We know a hell of a lot more about cosmology and evolution than how we got here in the first place. And no, that does not mean that we can fill our knowledge gaps with God done did it, because that's just downright lazy. And you know what? I'd much rather live in an era where we're curious.
And finally, as Christians, how can we look at this through a biblical worldview? For example, the Bible clearly teaches that there were no pre-humans. God formed Adam from the dust of the ground.
Are you sure the Bible clearly does not teach that there were any pre-humans, Davey Wavey? Because it sounds to me like angels and demons were pre-humans. Yeah. And depending upon which version of the Bible you use, the Book of Enoch is considered canon. And according to the Book of Enoch, the Watchers were angels that God put over men to keep them in the path. And the Watchers were the sons of God who went to the daughters of men. And if you read that story in context, it is actually the Nephilim, the offspring of the daughters of men and the sons of God, who were so evil that God had to flood the world. It was not the evil of men. Yeah. Although, if you look in the book of Deuteronomy, I think it is, the spies went out to spy out Canaan, and they came back with a report of the giant Nephilim. You know, we're grasshoppers in our own eyes. Not quite sure how they square that circle, but hey, it's their problem, not mine. I'm not a Christian anymore. My point is that there were pre-humans, because there were sons of God, you fools. So even taking your preferred fairy tale literally, which is kind of sort of what you want to do anyway, you have to accept that there were pre-humans. Sorry, there's no way around that. Davey Wavey.
In 1922, scientists found a tooth. Just one tooth. And from that tooth, they made this. Mr. and Mrs. Nebraska Man. Aren't they lovely? And so the news was spread all over the place that they had found proof that humans evolved from ape-like creatures.
But the way the artist drew them, it almost makes it look like people I've already seen. That's not science.
John, didn't we already discuss the fact that artist representations are not science? We talked about this in the last video. We've talked about this in this video. When the fuck are you going to drop this? Artist representations are not science.
Whoa, I'm going to stop you right there. Because You strike me as the type of man that is going to bring up long debunked shit like Nebraska man, okay? I wonder what kind of young earth creationist you are, Davey Wavey. If I said ecostones, what would you say? And if you deny the ecostones, then why are you accepting Nebraska man? And by the way, because I'm sure you're not going to tell your viewers this, Nebraska man was debunked by the real scientists, not your creationist pals. And you know why? Because they're honest, unlike you.
If the tooth was from a human ancestor, it would be the perfect specimen to support the Dawn Man theory and destroy the common out-of-Africa view of more recent human origins. Osborne and Dr. William D. Matthew concluded that the tooth most likely came from an anthropoid ape. They received a similar conclusion from Dr. Milo Hellman and William K. Gregory, who also supported the Piltdown Man's discovery. Osborne published his finding for peer review in the March 1922 issue of Science, dubbing the specimen Hesperopithecus Harold Cooki. It was immediately picked up by the Illustrated London News with an illustration drawn by Amadei Forestier, who modeled his illustration on Homo erectus, then called Pithecanthropus erectus. The illustration was accompanied by a caption. Mr. Forestier has made a remarkable sketch to convey some idea of the possibilities suggested by the discovery. As we know nothing of the creature's form, his reconstruction is merely the expression of an artist's brilliant imaginative genius.
Whoa, I'm going to stop you right there. Because, you strike me as the type of man that is going to bring up long debunked shit like Nebraska man, okay? I wonder what kind of young earth creationist you are, Davey Wavey. If I said ecostones, what would you say? And if you deny the ecostones, then why are you accepting Nebraska man? And by the way, because I'm sure you're not going to tell your viewers this, Nebraska man was debunked by the real scientists, not your creationist pals. And you know why? Because they're honest, unlike you. So 5 years later, a colleague of Osborne's named William King Gregory identified the fossil tooth as coming from an extinct order of peccary, and the picture that creationists love to show that quote unquote shows Nebraska man is actually from a British tabloid magazine that has nothing to do with the scientific community. So, yet again, we are faced with two possibilities that I can see. If you can find any others, please leave them down in the comments. But they have no idea what they're talking about, which in that case, they shouldn't be talking about it. Or option number 2, they know they are flat out lying. And I gotta tell you, neither option looks very good on them. And considering it's been debunked for 100 years, not good. So I just gotta ask, what is up with young earthers bringing up all of this long debunked nonsense? It doesn't look good for them. It looks like they're lying, doesn't it? Well, friends, I'm going to leave it there for today. I know I didn't get too much into his crazy conspiracy nonsense shit, And that's because he was so fucking wrong that I had to spend most of my time correcting his dumbass. So if you will please like this, leave a like and a comment for the algorithm. By the way, I love your comments. I do read them all, and I appreciate each and every one of your comments. And, I learn from your comments too. I'm not above having to learn. And I think that above all else is why living is worthwhile. Because if you know everything, why should you live? I mean, it makes no goddamn sense, right? You know? So live and learn, right? Live and learn. Also, if you are financially able, please become a member of this channel. You can become a member for as little as 99 cents a month. You get to have custom emojis in live chats, and you also get debunks at least one day early, usually 2 days early. You can also PayPal me, link in the description. If you can only do a one-time donation, I appreciate everything you do for me and everything that you call me out on when I make mistakes, because it's the only way we learn, people. It's the only way we learn is to know that we can make mistakes. And so, thank you very much. And thank you for being willing to teach my dumbass. Thank you. Bye.